So people driving along the Dalton Highway very quickly saw a flare being lit, and that flare has been lit continuously since we started producing the well. And oil has gradually increased through time, but as the RNS said, it's not large and material yet, but it's flowing back as you would expect.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom, and joining me now is Max Easley. He's the CEO of Pantheon Resources. And Max, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Steve.
Yeah, and also joining us is your chairman, David Hobbs. And nice to see you as well, David.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a while, Steve.
Yeah, so I know the company was out with some news today, so that's where we'll focus today's interview. So, David, why don't we begin with you? Tell me a little bit about your take on today's news.
Well, so what we updated was two things. One was where we're at in the well cleanup operation, and the one-line summary of that would be still in the envelope of expectation. Too early to have definitive news. It's been a great operation so far in terms of the execution of the well, the completion, now the flowback, and the well will speak. So really, it's steady as she goes on the well cleanup. In terms of the cost update, we wanted to make sure that we were very clear about what we'd spent. We have had, as I say, a very clean operation. Credit to the team for that. And really, as I say, nothing that is other than we are heading in a direction we expect to get to news in the not too distant future, and steady as she goes.
Okay, Max, you had mentioned before that you were looking at about 10 days of cleanup before you're expecting to see hydrocarbons. So can you talk us through that a little bit so everyone kind of understands what's going on here?
Oh, sure, Steve. People will remember that we pumped 200,000 barrels of water and 9.2 million pounds of sand in this well. So the first 10 days is really to stabilize the well. So you usually produce a little bit of sand and the well surges, then you stabilize it. And then you see what happens after that. And as we expected, it didn't take very long to get hydrocarbons to flow out of the well. So people driving along the Dalton Highway very quickly saw a flare being lit, and that flare has been lit continuously since we started producing the well. And oil has gradually increased through time, but as the RNS said, it's not large and material yet, but it's flowing back as you would expect. So the first 10 days is really about stabilizing the well for production. And since then, it's about, as David said, let the reservoir talk, and the well is slowly cleaning up. So we remain as confident as ever in the outcome.
Yeah, Max, David mentioned costing, and you had originally mentioned about 25 million, but you've upped that to 33, but you've also put in some extra work in there as well. Is that right?
That's right. I would start by saying, and David mentioned it earlier, this was an extremely efficient operation. There's several videos on our website about the well construction and the completion people can watch, and that went flawlessly. It's a market improvement from the past. It took us 7 days to complete this well. The previous analog was 28. So from an operating point of view, it was exceptionally well done by the team. There are things that we decided to do that were not in that original broad guidance of 25 million. And it's all to do with a long-term appraisal of the reservoir. The first was we drilled a pilot hole, a vertical deviated well through the reservoir for two purposes. One was to pick the correct landing zone for the horizontal well, but also, as we previously announced, we confirmed resources in the reservoir above the shelf margin deltaic C and the one below, the fan system below us. And we added some 200 million barrels of resources by doing that. We added a core for long-term appraisal purposes. And you never want to learn the same lesson twice, Steve. When we flowed back Alkaid a couple of years ago, we had a large sand influx, which caused a lot of unplanned operations. So in this case, we kept a coiled tubing unit on standby and a drilling rig nearby, should that have occurred. As it turns out, we've had a flawless flowback and didn't need that, but we maintained that contingency because we didn't want to learn that same lesson twice.
Okay. It sounds like there's going to be more news coming out pretty quickly here, David. As you mentioned, it's progressing the way you anticipated it. So you are expecting more news in the near future?
Yes, at the current flow rates, we'll get to around that 50% mark during the next couple of weeks. So over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'd expect to be able to share more news. But what I'd say is everything we've learned today leaves us in a position where we're as confident today as we were yesterday and we were the week before and the month before. There's really nothing in the flowback that takes us out of the envelope of our expectations pretty well.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for giving us a quick update on what's going on. We look forward to that news when it is available, and we'll make sure we get you both back on for that. So, David, thank you very much. Good to see you again.
And you, Steve.
All right. And Max, as always, good to see you as well.
Likewise. See you again soon, Steve.
All right. Sounds good. There's Chairman David Hobbs, CEO Max Easley of Pantheon Resources.